And my staff has been on the front lines seeing the economic devastation of the pandemic on a very personal level. And with respect to these EDD claims, we normally process about 20 or 30 unemployment-related cases in the course of a year. But over the course of the pandemic, since March of last year, we've processed over 2,000 cases. Our phone lines literally are ringing off the hook with people who are desperate for help, and we've been doing our best to provide that. I'm very proud that my colleagues and I have introduced a number of bills to address the EDD issue in light of the failings that have come to light in processing these claims. But we're not only working on unemployment cases, we're continuing to serve you by working on vital legislation and bringing you relevant programming, such as this Scam Stoppers event. And we're really glad that you're here. In an average year, millions of constituents are being scammed or are vulnerable to these scamming criminals. That's in a normal year, from housing scams to phone scams to the most common email scams. We're all greatly affected by this issue. However, and this is really kind of disgusting, but now due to the COVID-19 pandemic, scammers have found themselves working within a rich new landscape of potential scams when many of us, seniors included, are feeling particularly isolated and alone. In a time when so many are hurting, it really seems inconceivable that there would be criminals among us who would prey on people when they are at their most vulnerable. By being here today, you're taking an important step in ensuring that you and your loved ones are educated and protected. And that's the best way to protect yourself from scams, is to know them when you see them or be suspicious when you see something out there. But it's not just seniors who fall for these scams. Any person can fall victim if you let your guard down. And today we'll be reminded and learn how best to avoid becoming a victim to these new, even more deceptive schemes. Tonight we have two wonderful speakers, Kevin Durawa from the Contractor State License Board and Jackie Wiley from the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Both Kevin and Jackie will identify the most common COVID-19 scams and teach us how best to protect ourselves. If you have questions, you can ask. If you're on Facebook, you can use your Facebook interface for that, or in the Zoom chat box if you're on Zoom. And with that, I'd like to introduce the mayor of the city of West Hollywood, someone who I consider a very good friend, who's doing wonderful things in West Hollywood. How many years in office now, Lindsay?
More than I can remember.
That's me. Well, it's good to have you with us, ladies and gentlemen. Lindsay Horvath, the mayor of West Hollywood.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Bloom. We treasure your friendship and your leadership on behalf of our community, and we thank you for all that you're doing to fight for our residents and your entire district in Sacramento, and the voice of reason that you often are for so many in California in your seat. Thank you. It's my honor and pleasure to be here with you tonight, and I want to thank you and the Contractor State License Board for co-hosting this important Scam Stoppers webinar with us. We're pleased to bring this conversation to the West Hollywood community and everyone else who's watching, especially during this incredibly challenging time. And as the Assembly member said, these issues are not limited to older adults in our community. I got a strange text the other day and I contacted my staff and said, hey, is this normal? Is this something, I should be responding to? And right away they said, nope, that's a scam, don't respond. And so it just goes to show, targets are everyone out there, anyone who's willing to respond. And as the Assembly member said, by participating today, you are educating yourself and everyone you'll share this information with about all the ways that you can stay safe and avoid those problems. As part of our Aging in Place, Aging in Community initiative, we're intent on offering programs in West Hollywood that advance our 10 domains of livability. This webinar supports our safety and emergency preparedness domain. And if you would like more information about these domains or the city's Aging in Place, Aging in Community initiative, please visit weho.org/aging. As we've all seen, the COVID-19 pandemic has put us on edge this past year, especially related to getting resources we need, like personal protective equipment, food from the grocery store, money to pay our bills, basic necessities, vaccines, you name it. Our national and local strategy to protect public health has required so much time spent apart. It's also causing social isolation and loneliness. Unfortunately, this combination of fear and isolation creates opportunities for scammers to target people when they're feeling the most vulnerable. And we can see scammers focus on people who have small monthly budgets and big monthly budgets, people living by themselves and with others, people who rent and people who own their homes. No one is immune. Thankfully, our West Hollywood community continues to unite in difficult times, and we are so glad you've joined this conversation today, listening, or whether you're listening to the recording in the future. We're just glad that you're tuning in. And the City of West Hollywood and Assemblymember Bloom wish to educate and empower community members. It wouldn't be a Zoom without a dog. I apologize. That's Winston making himself known. We wish to educate and empower community members to protect themselves from scammers. And we deeply appreciate having the support of Assemblymember Bloom, the expertise of the California Department of Consumer Affairs Contractor State License Board to talk about COVID-19 pandemic scams targeting older adults today. We thank you for your attention, your participation, and most importantly, your vigilance to keep yourself and everyone around you safe and protected. We're here for you, and we thank you for participating today.
So my notes instruct me to thank Major Horvath now. So I'm not sure if that's a promotion or not, but Mayor Horvath, thank you so much. And thank you to the City of West Hollywood for being the sponsor of this program today. I've done a number of these over the years, and people are impressed and are grateful when their local leaders come and support the work that is done in a program like this. So thank you for being here. I want to take a moment to again thank the Contractor State License Board for working so hard to educate people here in California on how to stay scam-free during the ongoing pandemic. We want to stay healthy and scam-free. Without further ado, I want to introduce Kevin from the Contractor State License Board. Take it away, Kevin. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys today. Again, my name is Kevin Duroway, and I'm from the Contractor State License Board. We're talking about seniors today and why they're often targeted by unlicensed contractors. I'm going to share my screen here for a moment. There we go. So with COVID-19 and the pandemic, there are still scams happening. There are plenty of people who are spending more time at home, and there's also consumers who are doing more home improvement projects. For most of this pandemic, it's been a region-to-region basis, but for most of the time, construction has been allowed during the pandemic. So construction activities are still going on, and that unfortunately means more unlicensed activity as well. And with more people at home, that also means more door-to-door scams. So why are seniors targeted by unlicensed contractors? Well, seniors are a vulnerable group because they're trusting. And they're also targeted because they often will have a nest egg or some retirement income. So unlicensed contractors will try to manipulate seniors and establish connections with them to try to take advantage of them. So what are some common scams involving seniors and contractors? Oftentimes, a contractor will ask for a down payment that is too large. According to California law, the down payment must be 10% or $1,000, whatever is less, for a home improvement project. Another scam involves door-to-door sales. So an unlicensed contractor might knock at your door and offer to do work for you at a discounted price with leftover materials they have on the truck for another job in the neighborhood. Then they'll take a lot of money from you up front and they'll leave the work either unfinished or poorly done. Another scam involves pressure tactics or high pressure sales tactics. A fast talking contractor might show up at your door and ask you for an immediate decision about work. That makes it really difficult for you to get the recommended 3 competitive bids that we want you to get, to check the licenses of these contractors, the building permit requirements you may need in your area, and to review references of these contractors. There's also scare tactics. A person may want to perform a free inspection, and then when they get inside your house, they claim that they found a serious problem like faulty wiring or bad plumbing or a leaky roof, something that might even put you in danger. That can lead to unnecessary and overpriced work. Another involves verbal agreements. The contractor states that a written contract isn't really needed, and then he does shoddy work or no work at all. Later on, this can come back to hurt you. It's difficult to prove what was agreed to and what was not agreed to without a written contract. That's where I always suggest to get it in writing. Another reason is seniors may be promised one price, and then prices have gone up. Any changes to anything should be documented in the contract. That's why we say to get it in writing. Also, don't pay in cash. One scam involves a contractor demanding cash, sometimes going as far to drive you to the bank to withdraw funds from your ATM immediately. Then with the money in their hand, they abandon the job or leave it unfinished. Always pay with a check. We encourage you to pay with a check and keep a copy of that check in a project file. So when do we need a licensed contractor in California? Well, if the cost of the home improvement project is $500 or more, including labor and materials, you must hire a licensed contractor. This benefits you. You have more consumer protections if the contractor is licensed. And all licensed contractors are required to pass trade and law examinations and undergo background checks. Cslb licensed contractors are also required to hold $15,000 contractor bonds and have worker compensation insurance for all employees. So how do you find a licensed contractor? A good place to start is ask your friends, family, and neighbors. Get some personal recommendations. If you're still having problems finding a licensed contractor, you can use our Find My Licensed Contractor feature on our website. You can also get this information by calling us at 1-800-321-2752. Here's an example of the Find My Licensed Contractor feature on our website. You simply click on that icon, and up will pop another page which allows you to put in your city or your zip code. Then from that drop-down menu there, you can pick what kind of classification of contractor you're looking for and then hit search. You'll get a nice list of contacts of licensed contractors in your area. It only takes a couple seconds to do. We always suggest you to do that. You can also download the list and print the list. We also ask you to check the classification of the contractor you're looking for. If you need a plumber, make sure the contractor has a plumbing license. Also, you want to make sure that these contractors have workers' compensation coverage. If a contractor has employees, it is required. So when you're meeting these contractors for the first time, we want you to ask to see their pocket license. The pocket license looks similar to this. It's the size of a credit card. It'll be laminated. We want you to compare this pocket license with a picture ID. So look at the name on the license and compare it with the name on the picture ID. The reason we ask you to do this is because we ask contractors to put their license number on their vehicles and their advertising. Unfortunately, others will steal their license number. We want to make sure that they are who they say they are and they're licensed. We're always going to ask you to get 3 bids for any project. Get at least 3 bids in writing. And especially with seniors, have someone with you when you interview contractors. Take notes. Have a neighbor or a friend or family member with you. Ask these contractors for references and check the references. If you can see these previous projects in person, that's a good thing too. The reason we ask you to do that is nowadays with the internet, you can easily Google impressive concrete project pictures, and you'll get a bunch of images that people can print out and claim their own or add to their website and claim it that their own projects. When you're meeting these contracts, make sure you ask them about employees. Again, if they have employees, they need workers' compensation. Don't ever feel pressure to make a decision. Tell the contractor you're getting at least 3 bids. And you don't need to sign any kind of estimate. It's not a contract. You shouldn't be required to sign an estimate. I have some more tips here with the written contract. Only the contractor who holds a license or a home improvement salesperson, HIS, can negotiate and sign a contract. Home improvement salespersons, by the way, are also regulated by Cslb, and you should make sure they're licensed and check their license number on our website. Be careful about signing any kind of electronic contract. That can be edited after you sign. So if they want you to sign on a tablet, you make them aware that you're also supposed to be given a written copy of the contract that is signed by you before the work begins. In that contract, make sure you're including important information like the down payment. Again, 10% or $1,000, whichever is less, and never pay in cash. Make sure your contract includes a progress payment schedule. That means you only want to be giving the contractor half of the money when half of the work is done. You never want to let money get ahead of the work. The contract should also include any subcontractors this contractor may be using and material suppliers, so you can make sure that they've been paid. The contract should also include the start date of your project and the possible completion date. I mentioned this before, any kind of change to the contract has to be made in writing. That's called the change order. And both the homeowner and the contractor should sign those change orders. And new for this year, seniors now have a 5-day right to cancel any kind of contract. That's additional protection for seniors 65 and up and older, and that helps protect seniors from solicitors. Another thing you want to make sure of, you want to make sure that your project doesn't need any required building permits. Usually a building permit will be required, and it's usually issued by your local building department. The contractor should obtain the building permit. Make sure the contractor knows this and verify with him. Usually if the contractor is asking you to obtain the building permit, that's usually a big red flag. The reason why is they have to go to the building department to get the permit, and the building department will check to make sure the contractor is licensed with us before granting any kind of permit. Seniors can always file a complaint with us, 1-800-321-CSLB. You can also go to our website and click the File a Complaint icon. Seniors will always have 4 years from the date of construction to file a complaint. Here's another look at our website and a way to file a complaint by clicking on that icon. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to call CSLB at 1-800-321-CSLB. Thank you so much. I'll be taking your questions at the end. Now I'd like to hand it off to Jackie Wiley. Jackie, take it away.
Thank you, Kevin. I'd like to thank you for inviting the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation to be a part of this platform. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Assemblyman Richard Bloom, for holding this important forum or scam stopper. I want to start by sharing my screen as well. Is it being shared? Okay. I'm not able to move it. I can't see it. But anyway, I don't know how I'm going to advance it. I'm sorry.
You try hitting the right arrow key on your keyboard and that will advance it.
I'm not seeing that. I'm so sorry, everyone. Give me 1 second. Control. It's not doing it. Okay, there we go. All right. So I am Jackie Wiley with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, which is a brand new name for us. So forgive me if I screw that up. We are formally the Department of Business Oversight. And I want to say this. What happened with the Department of Business Oversight? On September 25th of 2020, the governor signed bills AB 1864 and AB 107 into law. And what did that do? That created the Consumer Financial Protection Law, and it renamed the Department of Business Oversight to whom we are now, the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. It also gives the department expanded authority to protect consumers from financial fraud and the pandemic inspired scams. So what do? A lot of you probably never heard of us or don't know who we are, but we license and regulate state licensed financial institutions, products, and professionals, such as credit unions, chartered banks, California financial lenders, residential mortgage lenders, servicers, consumer commercial loan companies, payday lenders, and escrow agents. I like to always break our units down. So those of you who own homes, which I'm sure the majority of those who are on the line do, we're the agency that you should come to file a complaint if you have a problem with your financial lender or your mortgage servicer, payday advance company, or the like. With the new law being signed and giving us this new name, and I mentioned earlier the expanded scope, we are also now overseeing industries that were unlicensed prior to us becoming wanting them to be regulated. So the department's role is to effectively oversee financial service providers and professionals, and we're promoting financial technology and innovation. And one of the main things in our focus is to bring awareness to protect consumers from unfair, deceptive, abusive acts and practices. And you're probably asking, how are we doing that? With the expanded oversight authority that was previously unregulated industries, we now have more power to protect California consumers from financial fraud. Effective January 1 of 2021, we began overseeing industries such as debt collectors, credit repair agencies, rent-to-own contracts, private for-profit school funding, and debt relief providers. And how are we doing this? The department effectively, we enforce the state financial laws and bring actions against entities that violate the law. We determine whether a financial product requires licensure or registration, because to do business within California, you have to be licensed with either us on a state level or the federal level, which will be the Securities and Exchange Commission. We are effectively licensing financial services, products, and professionals. We examine our licensees to ensure that they are in compliance with state laws and maintaining accurate records. We're investigating consumer complaints against our department licensees and potential cases of unlicensed and fraudulent activity. And we regulate certain securities offered to California investors. So the new industries that became effective, that are being regulated by our department, which became effective this year, we are actively taking complaints. And I'm gonna just say, we all get different types of calls, and I'm going to go into that in a few minutes. But one of the things is the debt collectors, and we're really proud to be regulating, especially them. A lot of people are getting debt collectors calls, whether they are real, but the majority of them are scams. So let's just talk about some of the common financial frauds and the scams, and I have pandemic inspired up there. Now that we have been in the pandemic world for almost a year now. The mayor said a specific word that I wanted to point out. She said isolation. And yes, the majority of us have been feeling isolated. People are suffering from depression. There's trying to make ends meet. And these scammers know that we're home. And Kevin talked about contractors. So there's some of the listings here, but I want to start with home improvement scams first. And I want to jump on board with Kevin for a minute. Because we are home improvements have become more so than ever. I'm taking advantage of that myself, that I'm teleworking from home nowadays, and but I am not using the PACE program. That is Property Assess Clean Energy. It's a program that provides homeowners help to finance energy efficient and water saving improvements to their property. And I'm going to say that again, to finance energy efficient and water saving improvements to their property. But as of January 1, 2019, our department began licensing the program administrators, and we regulate the PACE industry, where Kevin's agency licenses and regulates the contractors who will come out and do the work. We are the agency that you would need to come to prior to engaging in business if you're thinking about doing a home improvement and using this program. Consumers should definitely become educated about the PACE program before entering into a finance agreement, and I'm going to tell you why. The main reason is because the cost or repayment of the loan has been and can be misrepresented. Who doesn't like anything free? So claiming no money down or no out-of-pocket costs, it gives the impression that all the services are free. So again, we have to stop and think to ourselves, well, if you're saying I'm not putting anything out of my pocket and there's no down payment, where's that money coming from? So the PACE is not a free government program, and homeowners must pay the funding through their annual property taxes. Lots of consumers did not hear that, was not relayed that information. And another thing, people have been coaxed into not applicable, not energy efficient upgrades. So if you have a contractor at your house and you wanted to get an energy efficient toilet or storm windows or anything that is energy efficient, and he starts looking around and he says, oh, wow, have you thought about getting new cabinets or new granite kitchen counters? And you say, I thought about doing that. And he'll say, well, we can do that, because you have the PACE program and it's financed. You have to think, remember, that's not energy efficient. So don't allow someone to coax you into doing an upgrade that is not part of that program. We have seen and received a lot of calls with incomplete and unpermitted work that was people's homes left in shambles. Inappropriate use of the signature, which of course is identity theft and forgery. And I want you to be mindful that a lot of times contractors are using electronic devices for signatures. If you're signing an electronic device, ask yourself, have you really reviewed the contract? You don't want someone to say, just sign here, all the information is here, and I'll print it and send it to you. Don't do that. Ask for it in writing. And also what has been happening, it's going to result in difficulty selling your property as a lien is placed on your home until that PACE loan is paid off. And lastly, reverse mortgages taken out for home improvements and a PACE loan. So ladies and gentlemen, please be mindful that if you are doing home improvements and you're offered or someone talks about the PACE or the HERO program, remember the lady from the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation gave you some information as to what you should be aware of. And the bottom line, it's not a scam, but you need to know that if you're paying property taxes of $1,500 or $1,500 a year, and now that this PACE loan has been tacked onto your property taxes, you're not going to see that for maybe the next year. And now you want to know why your property taxes have doubled, if not tripled. So be mindful of these things. Okay. Let's talk about the phone. Everybody on this line gets some type of a phone call all day, every day. And you need to ask yourself, who's really calling? So government imposter calls to the grandparent relative scam calls, offers of vaccines covered by Medicare, your bank, your mortgage servicer, credit card, charity investments. The list goes on and on. I myself have a home phone and my family keeps telling me to get rid of it, but I get the same phone call every single day, probably 4 to 5 times a day. And it's a person that's telling me that I need to renew my insurance for my car. First of all, I don't even have that card anymore, so I just don't entertain the call. If you're not familiar, let's talk about the grandparent or relative scam. It's a phone call that you received. I'm in the hospital. I need money for a test. I need money for food. But the most prevalent one has been a relative calling and indicating that they have been arrested and they need you to send money right away. They're telling you not to tell their parents. That's why they're calling grandma or grandpa. Please don't tell them that I've been arrested. I have the arresting officer right here who wants to talk to you. That's an elevated pandemic way. They'll put somebody on the phone and it sounds too good to be true because they'll tell you, yes, we have them in custody. Unless you send us $1,000 or $2,000, we're going to proceed with locking them up. Ladies and gentlemen, before you do anything, verify your information. Don't just fork over the money. Don't call out personal credit card numbers or banking information. Verify the information before you believe it. Government imposter calls. The IRS. Hi, I'm calling from the IRS and I noticed that you haven't paid your back taxes. If you don't pay them right away, we're going to arrest you. Social Security phone calls. Hi, your Social Security has been suspended or frozen. Please call this number back immediately. Utility scams. Hi, I'm Jackie and I'm calling from the DWP office and I work in the delinquent unit. If you're not going to pay your bill by 5 o'clock today, your utilities will be cut off. We need you to provide the information right away. So let me just say this. The IRS is way too busy to call anybody to tell them that they owe money. Social Security Administration, any governmental agency is not going to call you. So please, please, please don't fall for the phone call, okay? Government agencies are not going to call you. Social Security, DWP, IRS, and then we have a new one, jury duty. Hi, I'm calling from jury duty, and oh my God, what happened? You didn't show up for jury duty. It shows you should have showed up last week. What happened? Of course, people start freaking out. They get nervous and say, oh my God, I didn't remember. I didn't get a notice. Bingo, right there. And what they're going to tell you is, oh, calm down. Don't worry. Let me have your Social Security number and let me pull up your information. So ladies and gentlemen, that's another thing. How do you get summons to go to jury duty? You get a letter in the mail. They will not call you. So be mindful of government imposter calls. Be mindful of the relative scam calls. And of course, because now the vaccines are being given, we're getting, calls and people saying that, yes, if you haven't gotten your vaccine yet, what place are you online? If you pay $100 right now, I can probably move you to the front of the line. Don't fall for that. It's a phone call that you didn't initiate. Let's talk really quickly about your bank or mortgage servicer. During the pandemic, it has harmed so many people mentally, physically, and financially. People are resorting to different ways of trying to just basically make ends meet. The governor has put in place forbearances, moratoriums to hold off on making payments. Please, please, please go to your source directly. Do not entertain someone calling you over the phone, offering you a lower credit card APR now because we know that you're not working or whatever the case may be. Your mortgage servicer, go to the source yourself. Charity scams, be mindful of whom you're giving your money to. You can always go to Charity Navigator or you can contact the Attorney General's office to verify information. Investments, it's always about an opportunity of a lifetime that you should not pass up, but be mindful if someone is pressuring you to do it right now, you got to make a decision within 24 hours, that's a red flag sign. So don't allow fear from keeping you from reporting, or allow fear from keeping you from saying something to somebody about a phone call that you received, like the mayor shared. She asks, oh my goodness, have you received this phone call before? Because you may not be the only one who have received that. Okay, so see something, say something. Okay, so round 2, stimulus check. I have this particular photo of the prepaid debit card because I have had people who had received the envelope and it said, not a bill or an advertisement, important information about your economic impact payment. And they actually thought it was fraudulent. They thought it was a scam. So they tossed it in the trash. So let me just say this, there's 3 ways that you can get your stimulus check. If you have direct deposit, where your taxes go, your stimulus check will go or may go direct deposit. You may get a paper check in the mail, and then you can also get the prepaid debit card. So if you get this, please know that it's legitimate. Any questions that you have about the IRS or your payments, please go directly to the irs.ca.gov site for more information. Don't trust the phone call. Yep, you've got mail. On the left side, I have a picture of a mailman putting mail inside of a mailbox that's outside of someone's home, and it could be bills, and I'm sure it has important information in that mailbox. We have to be mindful. We have people who are going around stealing mail. If you do not have the mailbox that goes into your home, please try to get your mail out as soon as possible. On the right, you see a picture of the mailman with some packages. People are ordering online, whether it's food, clothes, or whatever. If you are knowing that you are to receive a package, track your information, and when you know that it's been delivered, please get it off of your porch. I just saw something on the news the other night that there's a gentleman in the Inland Empire who has robbed, I want to say maybe 5 mail trucks. So be mindful of things like that. Check your statements diligently every month and shred unwanted mail. Phishing is a big form of identity theft. Like I said before, we're a home. The way of the world has changed. I have never in my life used my debit card or credit card as much as I'm using it now. A lot of the places are not really wanting to take cash. We don't want to touch the money. So online services have heightened, which has also heightened the chances of being a victim of identity theft. We're paying our bills online, we're banking online, we're using emails from services, we're shopping, we're using PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, Venmo to send money and to receive money. So what can we do to avoid becoming a victim of identity theft? And what should I also look for in an email or a text? I wanted to show this particular film as well. On the right, on the left-hand side, you see a text message. On the right, there's a letter. The red shows different mistakes within the letter. Please, please, please don't always trust what you receive in the mail or what you receive as an email or as a text message, okay? There are copycat text message and URLs and websites. So be mindful of things like that, okay? Protecting your identity. Monitor your credit. Request your credit reports from all 3 credit bureaus. And if you're really diligent with monitoring it, you can do Experian in 1 month, 3 months later, do the other one, and 3 months later, do TransUnion. But when you receive your mail, check your bills, check your lines, make sure that the purchases were yours and that someone has not gotten a hold of your account some type of way. You can freeze your credit. Anyone can place a freeze on their credit now, and that decreases identity theft and obtaining credit in your name. When you place a freeze, people get they misunderstand. Placing a freeze does not stop what is currently your credit or your current credit cards. It decreases the identity theft of anyone trying to obtain new credit in your name. Credit versus debit. Instead of saying debit, please try to say credit. When we're swiping our cards and they ask for your PIN number, that is another way for people to gain our identity. And you're probably saying, I wonder how that happens. There's a device that is called a skimmer. They have been known to show up outside of ATM machines, particularly at gas stations. And then people started getting more sophisticated, and they've been on the outside of ATM machines. They've been in grocery stores, but it's a particular device called skimmer, SKIMMER, where it's placed over the machine. And when you put your debit card in there and you punch in your PIN number, there's a mirror somewhere attached somewhere where they're seeing the PIN number that you are using. And then when the coast is clear, they come and they take that device off of the machine. And then they have your credit card number as well as PIN numbers that will correlate together. But if you say credit when you put your card in the machine, you don't have to punch in your PIN number. So let's try to get in the habit of doing credit versus debit. And if you are a victim of identity theft, we work with other state, local, federal, and government agencies. The FTC is a wonderful source to report fraud, whether it's identity theft or other types of potential scams. Protect yourself from fraud. Telephone, internet, email, text messages, mail. I cannot say it any clearer. If you didn't make the call, create that email, or not sure of a website, please be cautious, because you really don't know who is on the other end of the line. I have a viewer I have caller ID on my phone, and I get a lot of phone calls from someone by the name of Unavailable. I have no idea who Unavailable is, but the person who is unavailable is really me, because I don't pick it up. I may see IRS, but even if you see the name of your bank, your credit card company, an entity that you are familiar with, please don't provide your personal information at that time as well. Ask questions, and then hang up and go and get your bill. Call the number yourself. Spoofing is what that's called. I want to say something about what you need to know about payday loans. I threw this in at the last minute because the pandemic has a lot of us looking for financial relief. It's really unfortunate that it's young, old, ages in between that are going to get payday loans. And I have to say this, that there's a lot of the facilities who are not abiding by the laws, and we regulate them, and we're ramping up our laws pertaining to payday loans, because you're not supposed to be able to get more than one at a time. And because financial stresses and situations have people doing things and trying to get financial relief or just money to pay for regular needs, emergencies, or food, it's becoming a cycle of debt. So what happens when you can't pay that money back in 30 days after you get it? You reborrow from another payday lender. You're starting now to skip your other financial obligations. So the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, we have a great booklet, what you need to know about payday loans, and you can see that on our site, or you can request a copy of it. So know that a payday loan should be, if at all, your last means of help financially. So if you need to make a financial decision, let us help. Before you make a financial decision, do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. Verify your information. We have our consumer service office, which is located in our Sacramento office, and they can help resolve disputes with our department licensees. We have live people who answer our call center, and we have multi-language capabilities. And our toll-free number is 866-275-2677. Okay. Forums like this provide knowledge. Knowledge is power, because if you didn't know about some of the things that I spoke about today, now there's some red flag signs that you can be aware of when and if you receive a phone call, when someone knocks on your door, when there's an opportunity. So we have a wonderful book, Protect Yourself from Fraud, and we give this out. We're used to being in person, and we distribute this booklet wherever we go. It has wonderful information about different types of the common frauds and scams, educational tools for you to be aware of red flag signs. We're in the process of updating all of our brochures because of our new name change, and of course things have heightened. There's always a new scam, and so we're revamping our book, but this one is still current, and it's available. If you would like for us to send you a booklet, you can do so by emailing me or going to our outreach, dfpi.ci.gov. Lastly, I want to say really quick, fraud and scam prevention. Number one, always trust your instincts. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And number two, never give out personal information again unless you initiated the contact. And always go to your source yourself. Go to your source first before you decide to make a decision for any kind of help release or any questions that you may have. The department, we are our toll-free number, our website, and we are on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So we would like for you to follow us if you have any questions. It's question and answer time. Back to you, Assemblyman, and thank you for allowing me to share. Taking all of this time. Hello. Back to the
Jackie, we might have lost him.
Why don't we just move into Q&A? If you want
Okay.
to, if
Gotcha.
Kevin or Jackie, you want to go first.
Yeah, I got a question from someone who wanted to know more about the complaint process, and I wanted to know how to report a scam to CSLB. You can do that through our website. Usually the scams are handled by our office, our mediation office. When you file a complaint with us, they also ask, what does the complaint process look like? So after you file your complaint with CSLB, there's several steps that are taken. First, the CSLB will determine if it has jurisdiction over your complaint. Again, you have up to 4 years from the date of the work and up to 10 years for some structural defects. And again, we mentioned to you about hiring a licensed contractor. If your complaint deals with an unlicensed contractor, we have less leverage over what we can do to help you. If the contractor you file a complaint against isn't licensed, we will be able to cite them, possibly impose a fine of up to $15,000. There are cases we can refer to the local district attorney, but CSLB can't require an unlicensed person to make repairs on your project. And usually the complaint process works. Our intake and mediation center will send contact letters to both you and the contractor. The letter basically urges the contractor to resolve the complaint with you right away. And then it escalates to the next level. CSLB will prioritize complaints based on the order they're received, the seriousness of the allegations, other resources, and also how much financial neglect it's causing you, or if it's putting you as a homeowner in danger. Those complaints are usually prioritized ahead of time. Again, it's based on the mediation center and consumer services representatives and what they decide to do with that. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't remember who asked the name of the person who asked that question, but I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
This is Jackie. Okay. I wanted to address the 3 questions that was given to me prior to the event starting. And this person says, I've received calls around Social Security fraud and other fraud, which is credit card, where the person says they are in law enforcement and investigating the situation. How can I have the caller identify themselves to ensure the caller is truly law enforcement? So many TV crime shows make this seem like a credible situation. I'm going to say this. 1, law enforcement is not going to call you. And if they were law enforcement, they wouldn't have no problem identifying. And I spoke earlier about that. You're receiving this phone call. Social Security does not call you. You are receiving this phone call. So please don't believe that the person is law enforcement and they're investigating any situation. If you have a question about it any further, call your credit card company to see if there's a problem with that. Hang up and call the Social Security Administration. But bottom line, you receive that call, it's more than likely a fraud, someone trying to get your personal information. Question number 2, in general, how can I check to see if a situation is a scam or is authentic? A, remember to reach out to, remember to reach out to the staff at one of the community nonprofit seniors to help figure out the situation. Okay, I guess that's a side note. How can I see if a situation is a scam? You can call our agency, our toll-free number, and inquire. You can ask Assemblyman's office, but just when in doubt, ask the question. You're feel free to call us and we can at least try to decipher and see what the situation is. Number 3 is, how do I report a suspected scam to police, FBI, etc.? If it's a suspected scam, again, you can call our agency and we will get you to the appropriate agency to help you file the complaint. You can always call your police department, or the FBI. I'm going to say Federal Trade Commission is a wonderful federal state agency who takes a lot of complaints. I'm going to say that because you say here suspected. When a person is suspecting a scam, you're basically letting people know about the situation. So hopefully you hadn't bought into what it is that they were trying to do. Hopefully I've answered those questions to the best of the person's ability. I see a question here. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, you can add to what I was going to say. I just saw a question from Josh. Sometimes victims of a scam may feel shame or embarrassment. Why is it important that someone report if they've been a victim? Well, it's important because hopefully we can prevent other victims. You know, hopefully we can prevent the scammer from continuing to do what they're doing and victimize more people. So really, you're doing it, you know, on behalf of being a good person and trying to prevent the future scams from happening. Jackie, did you want to add to that?
I totally agree with what you just said. And to add to that, I would just say, don't let embarrassment keep you from sharing it with a close friend or just an agency to let us know. You guys are our eyes and our ears. If you don't report the situation, we won't know that that person is out there doing unscrupulous business practices or trying to scam others. So if you are uncomfortable with sharing it with a family member or friend, that's what the agencies are for.
You know, it can happen to anyone. And, you know, we call these senior scam stoppers, but this really applies to every demographic of the population. You know, I've had people in their 20s reach out to us on social media and talk about how they got a knock on their door. Someone was in the area, they had extra landscaping materials on their truck, and all of a sudden they're pouring grass seed on their front lawn and they're demanding that they pay $100 to cover this. So this can happen to anyone, and this person even had the Ring video doorbell, so they even had video footage of these people, and that was helpful. They were able to report that to the local authorities to keep an eye on these people in the area. But but it can happen to anyone. So I would encourage you, going off to what Jackie said, don't feel embarrassed. Anyone can become a victim, and it's helpful coming forward.
Yeah, anybody is susceptible to becoming the victim. I'm just going to throw the name Bernie Madoff out there. He scammed people, lawyers, doctors, attorneys. He scammed high-level people. So like Kevin said, anybody can fall victim to a fraud and scam, okay? There's a question here. Certain cell phone carriers give you a discount if you give them your debit card number. Is this okay? I'm not knowing about that. As long as it's not over the phone or you in person. I know that you can get a discount from a cell phone carrier if you're with a certain agency or a certain age, or you have multiple phone lines. I would be careful about that one, your debit card number. Why do they need that for a discount? I'm not sure how to answer that any other way. I don't see any other questions.
There's a question in here for me from Maureen. Maureen asks, in Los Angeles, for a single-family dwelling, an owner can act as a general contractor without a contractor's license. In my area, there are specific developers who are acting as a general contractor building single-family dwellings as large as shopping malls. If structural issues occur, who is responsible? There's an issue and the developer points the finger at the licensed subcontractors. Any comments on this? Well, the contractor is always responsible for the subcontractor. So that's why we encourage you to, when you get involved with a contractor, you want to know what subs they're working with, and you want to make sure those subs are licensed. The subcontractor should have license numbers as well. As far as an owner acting as a general contractor, that means the owner is taking on owner-builder privileges. So if they own the property, there is a limited amount that they can do. But as any complaint goes, you should be filing a complaint with us. You should be filing a complaint with Cslb. And our staff at our mediation centers, they're very good at looking into every problem. They'll tell you whether or not we have jurisdiction or not. And if we don't have jurisdiction, they'll point you in the right direction. They'll say, you know what, you really need to go to your county building department for this. You know what, that's a permit violation. You need to go to your permitting department to help with that. So they won't turn anyone away. They might say, we don't have jurisdiction, but here's how you can, here's how we can help you. Hope that helps your question, Maureen.
Really quick, let me backtrack to the question about the cell phone. The only thing that I was sitting here thinking about it, a discount using your debit card number. Only thing I can think about is you might get $10 off of your cell phone bill if it's paperless, or if you're doing a automatic withdrawal every single month. That's the only thing I can think of about using your debit card number for that, Annie. I don't think that, do you see any other questions, Kevin?
No, I don't see any other questions right now.
Okay, so Assemblymember, get it back to you.
I think that brings us to the conclusion of our program. So let me take another opportunity to thank Jackie and Kevin for the great presentation this evening. We really appreciate it, but I also want to thank my staff. We have Melissa Koffler with us here tonight, and also Josh Kerpies. They are available, as is all of my staff, to answer questions, to connect you with state government agencies, with other elected officials. Whatever help you need, you can try our office, and you can reach us at 310-450-0041. 310-450-0041. Thank you all who are participating tonight for your interest in this issue and for paying attention so that The next time something like this comes your way, you'll know to avoid it like the plague. Good night, everyone, and have a good, safe evening. Take care.